Hello all of you wonderful people, Jules here for WhatCulture.com, and I don't know about you, but I am a busy man sometimes. I've got scripts to write, videos to shoot, Warhammer to paint and then step on in. So when it comes to video games, sometimes I need a little something to speed up the proceedings, especially when it comes to boss battles. After all, these encounters are meant to be tests of skill and patience, and I just don't have either, as I've just mentioned. Therefore, it's quite lucky that there are some bosses out there that allow for some creative thinking and who will, if you meet the criteria, actually end things themselves, saving you the time and effort. So let's not waste any more of these precious moments and plow on through with this list. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 8 bosses that you can trick into defeating themselves. Number 8. Pyramid Head, Silent Hill 2. When you first look at the imposing and aggressively shaped Pyramid Head, you'll likely find yourself reaching for the trusty boomstick in order to take out as many chunks as you can of this walking nightmare. As a manifestation of James's guilt, Pyramid Head hounds the player throughout Silent Hill 2 and makes his power known by trying to gore you to pieces, and other enemies as well, in equal measure. However, if you calm your beating heart and think outside the box for a second, there's actually a much easier way of defeating this boss, and all it requires is ditching all your ammo. I know, it doesn't sound sensible in a survival horror game, but trust me, by chucking every shell and bullet down the toilet and then entering the boss encounter room, Pyramid Head will simply impale itself on a spear, signaling that James has overcome his guilt as he's not trying to fight it anymore. It's surprisingly deep and one that rewards facing your fears in a less direct way. Number 7. Sarin, Mass Effect. Sarin is a rather nasty-looking fellow who simply screams, "Betrayer of the universe!" the moment that he encounters Shepard and looks down on you and the rest of humanity. Throughout the game, you'll hear and see examples of his power and corrupting influence. But you know what? While he was clearly born with a rod up his ass, he wasn't born with the gift of the gab, as you can actually convince Sarin to stand down, accept that the Sovereign is an evil force, and then end himself if you've reached a Paragon or Renegade Max throughout your playtime. Usually the fight would go on for ages, but if you're a silver-tongued Shep, then you can ask him to chew on the barrel of his own pistol. Now, true, the fight does continue after this in a cybernetic boss body form, but still, for even allowing you to do this, Mass Effect 1 is pretty great. Number 6. Maiden Estrella, Demon Souls. Now, while I could talk at length about other From Software titles and how to overcome their many bosses with a bit of luck and a whole heap of cheese, we're going to go way to the first game, Demon Souls, and look at Maiden Estrella. Indeed, for a game with such a tough-as-nails reputation, not all of its bosses are insanely hard to overcome. Now, Estrella isn't some hulking giant mass of limbs or a scaly poisonous beast, she's just a normal-looking blonde lady. If you want to beat her, then you can do it in a more direct, conventional fashion, or even pepper her with arrows and spells from a distance like a scrub. But for the really fun option, why not take on Garl Vinland, her bodyguard, beat him, and then go and talk to the maiden? After a brief bit of dialogue, she then chooses to end her own life, saving you the trouble. Oh, God, if only all bosses were so considerate to our time windows, eh? Number 5. Henry Avery, Uncharted 4. Uncharted 4 comes packed with an underrated multiplayer suite, a part of which is a 3-player co-op mode. Here you and your teammates must fight your way through 10 stages of goons that increase in difficulty as you go, with a boss battle against a magical warlord placed at the end of every second stage. Now, the final boss, New Devon's Henry Avery, is much like your mum gorging on my golden idol, a right pain in the neck, and uses 2 undead decoys that like to shoot at you with high damage flintlock pistols, and possesses a powerful ground punch that will absolutely wreck you if you get too close. And also, yes, that's my one per list. He also has the ability to teleport to wherever you are on the map, ensuring that you have nowhere to run. However, it's this very ability that can be exploited to become his downfall, as when I say that Avery can teleport anywhere on the map, we really do mean anywhere, including off the edges of the map. If you head to one of the rope swings at the top of the area, dangle yourself above the trees and wait for Avery to teleport, he'll fall to his death in the out-of-bounds zones just below the rope. And job's a good one, right? Number 4. Asgore, Undertale. As you might expect from a game that likes to subvert everything you think you know about gaming, the delightful Undertale forces players to constantly ask who is friend and who is foe. I mean, just look at Asgore. He looks big and nasty and powerful, and true, when you fight him he will certainly test your mettle, but if you hit certain markers on your first and second neutral playthroughs of the game, Asgore will dive into an emotional speech about how he regrets some of his more sinister actions, how he doesn't want to hurt anyone, and how he misses his wife, and then culminates in him asking the player to take his soul. To unlock this outcome, you'll have to kill Flowey in your first neutral playthrough and elect to spare Asgore in your second, and then after you fight him, he'll offer his soul before sacrificing himself. Then, because nothing is sacred apparently, that annoying little cretin Flowey will appear and inform you that every time you get a happy ending, he'll show up to ruin it. But Asgore's noble end was a lovely moment while it lasted. Number 3. GLaDOS Portal. Mastering the Portal device in the Portal series is one of the most satisfying things you can do in life, second only to standing naked on a balcony as the morning sun warms your cockles. By doing so, it allows you to solve even the most confounding of puzzles presented in Portal by teleporting all about the place and using the environment to your advantage. However, it's not just with navigation where this gun shines, but also in the fact that it gives you an opportunity to use them to defeat GLaDOS, the final boss of the game. When the battle starts, you'll have to grab the purple core that GLaDOS drops and pop it into a nearby incinerator. This will annoy the already quite angry robot even further, causing her to start flooding the chamber with a deadly neurotoxin. On top of that, she'll also start firing missiles at you, which, as you might expect, hurt quite a bit. But by thinking with portals, not only can you avoid this damage altogether, but you can actually send the projectiles directly back to their source, tricking GLaDOS into damaging herself. Line up your first portal so the missile goes into it, then line up your second portal so it's aimed at GLaDOS, and the explosive will rocket straight into her annoying metal frame. Do this enough times and you'll beat her without ever firing a shot yourself. Number 2. The Fear. Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. The Metal Gear series is one known for its creative boss battles, and within Metal Gear Solid 3 there are a fair few who you can exploit to damage themselves. The Fear is one of these examples, an insanely cool character who uses a Predator-style cloaking device to hide himself from view as he darts between the tree branches up above. It's quite an intimidating fight because, without the use of the thermal goggles at least, he's a hard foe to keep track of, and his rapid movement speed can make him a tough target to pin down. Fortunately, the Fear will climb down from the tree branches to seek out food when his stamina reaches a certain threshold, giving you the opportunity to get extra dirty with your fighting tactics, as you can trick the character into eating some poisonous grub. After all, he's not exactly playing fair, so why should you? When he clambers down to have a scrounge, simply chuck some poison or rotten food onto the ground and he should make a beeline right for it, gobbling it down without a second thought. This will hurt him even further and speed the encounter along, and because he's such a massive idiot, he'll go for this tainted food more than once. Mate, you've got to remember, as tempting as it is, don't eat floor meat. Yes, it is delicious and free, but it gives you a runny bummy. And number 1, The Master, Fallout. The original Fallout game was a widely different beast to the open-world FPS series that we know today. Instead, it presented itself as a slick-as-hell 2.5D top-down adventure. It is utterly glorious and so full with content that there are still people making videos about secrets found in this game to this day. One of its best facets is the dialogue choices you can make, which can have a massive impact on the type of experience the player has. You might choose to use your powers of persuasion to minimize the amount of combat encounters you face, or to scam people out of money in stim packs. But the true test of this system is when you can manipulate the final boss into ending themselves entirely. The Master is a grotesque and really brilliant character with, I'm pretty sure, the voice of the actor who played Pete, Goofy's neighbor from Goof Troop. I might just be imagining that, but I'm pretty sure that's true. Anyway, that is beside the point. If you've got a high enough intelligence and speech skill, you can choose certain dialogue options that will convince the gooey, misshapen master that his race will die out within a generation, that his plan absolutely sucks, and that leads him to nuking all of his base and taking himself along with it. Not a bad day's work, right? And oh, look at that, back in time for tea. And there we go, those were 8 video game bosses that you can trick into beating themselves. Let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. But before you go, my friends, I just want to say one thing. It's very easy to beat ourselves up, as we've shown here on this boss list. You might even do it without even realizing, so please take the time to actually stand back and evaluate what's going on around you. You can waste a lot of energy needlessly from rushing ahead with situations and just thinking that putting tons of energy into something will make it work. Sometimes, unfortunately, that's not the case. Take a step back, realize what you can and can't control, and if you need help with stuff, remember you can ask for help. There is no shame or weakness in asking for help. And you'll be surprised because people care way more than you might realize. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me at RetroJ with a 0 over on Twitter. You have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.